Throughout history, there's been key events that remain largely absent from mainstream narratives. Whether they've been overlooked due to political motives, cultural blind spots, or limited media attention, these stories hold important truths that can change our understanding of the past and even the present. One glaring example is the Tuskegee syphilis study. It was an unethical medical experiment conducted between 1932 and 1972 on African American men. For decades, the details of the study were unknown to the public, and it wasn't until the 1970s that the full extent of the exploitation and harm was revealed. The fallout from this led to major reforms in medical ethics and research practices. It's a reminder that some events, no matter how devastating, can remain hidden in plain sight until the right moment, or when an individual forces them into the public eye. In today's world, even though information spreads faster than ever, algorithms and media gatekeeping control a lot of what we see online. A study from MIT in 2020 highlighted how false news spreads 6 times faster than the truth on social media platforms. This phenomenon isn't just about misinformation. It can draw out important stories that deserve attention, but don't fit neatly into the dominant narrative. As a result, vital events often slip through the cracks, overshadowed by sensational or ideologically favored stories. Take a look at another poignant case. Back in 1932, Holodomor, a man-made famine in Soviet Ukraine that caused millions of deaths. During the Cold War, political considerations and alliances often dictated how history was written. As a result, many Western accounts downplayed or omitted the Holodomor, only acknowledging the full scale of the atrocity many years later. These omissions shaped public understanding of one of history's darkest periods, illustrating how political priorities can obscure uncomfortable truths. The tendency to marginalize certain truths also extends to scientific achievements. For instance, Rosalind Franklin's contributions to the discovery of DNA's double helix structure were critical. But her role was minimized for decades while Watson and Crick were celebrated. Franklin's story wasn't fully appreciated until years after her death, a reflection of how mainstream recognition often lags behind the real contributions of those who challenge or complicate the established narrative. Even when true events aren't completely erased, they're sometimes hidden in plain sight, awaiting discovery by journalists, researchers, or whistleblowers. The Pentagon Papers, leaked by Daniel Ellsberg, they're a prime example. These documents exposed the U.S. government's misrepresentation of the Vietnam War and reshaped public perception of governmental trust and transparency. Had it not been for Ellsberg's actions, the official narrative of the war may have gone unchallenged for years. When true events are left out of the mainstream, the consequences are far-reaching. Public understanding of history becomes distorted. Trust in institutions erodes, and harmful policies or ideologies can thrive unchecked. More crucially, societies miss the chance to learn from those past mistakes. The dominant stories we tell are just part of a much larger, complex narrative. Some of the most important threads are the ones that we don't initially see. Historians, journalists, educators, even citizens, all have a responsibility to challenge the mainstream narrative. Go out, dig deeper, ask harder questions, bring overlooked stories to light. Without that work, the picture of history remains incomplete, and it will stay that way for a real long time. And in the process, we risk perpetuating the same blind spots that keep these events in the shadows for so long. These are Interesting Things with JC.